Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Beyond the Batcast podcast, a podcast where I, Adam Upper, will be talking with my pal Braydon Keddie about the Batman the Animated Series. And this week, actually, because this week is our first week, we'll just be talking about I guess what we'll be talking about. I guess is as I said, the Batman animated series. How are you, Brandon?
I'm doing good, Adam. How are you, man?
I am well. So, are you excited about this podcast? Because
I am very excited.
yes, because this is a very close show to me. Because it's probably like I was gonna say this is probably my first foray into Batman, aside from the Batman '89 movie, which I guess was my first introduction. But this is my definitely what got me into Batman, like initially because of the show, because it's all how good it was. What's your history with this show?
So I think this was I will say that I was introduced to like the idea of Batman ironically through those Adam West reruns that were playing when I was a kid. So all I remember, because this was around like I was probably 4 years old, all these like, colorful characters and, leotards and stuff like that, beating up penguins and clowns.
Bam
So it
pow.
wasn't until was that?
Yeah, bam pow.
Bam, pal. Yeah. My parents wondered why I had so much ADHD. And so when I got into the show, the Bruce Timm adaptation, I think this was when I was like, okay, so I knew about Batman beforehand. This is when I'm like, oh man, Batman's awesome. When you realize, like, first of all, human being, secondly, colorful characters both on the hero side and the villain side, and just really character driven stories. Like you've got all these characters, both ones that are adapted from the comics and original characters. Like, dude, we could spend an entire episode just talking about Harley Quinn and the impact she's made on, the DC comics and DC world in large. But yeah, just the way that it was able to encapsulate, I think, the spirit of Batman and has really defined our generation and really helped people have a segue into the Batman mythology because I don't think I was really into the comics. I'm 33 now. I started the show when I was like 5 years old. I don't think I was actually into the Batman comics until I was like 18. So you
Yeah.
have like a solid decade of Batman fandom for me where I was completely just driven by this show.
Just yeah, because this show came out when I was like 11 or 12, and I didn't start collecting comics until like my 30s. So like so it's definitely like my initial knowledge of Batman was from this show.
Hmm.
So and then I was like then afterwards getting into the comics and be like, oh yeah, this is where they got these characters or then of course there's also I think even you mentioned the Harley Quinn, which came from the show, and I think Renee Montoya started on this show too, and went to the comics as well. I think so. Just and I've been finding that out and stuff is always fun. Being like, when the stuff comes about.
Yeah. I firmly
Uh,
believe that you can't do like a Batman kind of understanding of the Batman mythology without talking about this show. Like it's such a cornerstone of the entire like Batman mythos that to avoid talking about it for whatever reason is next to impossible.
just the fact that it's just so damn good as well.
Yeah.
Which is why I kind of want to do the show too, just so I can go back through it. Because I'm actually now that I'm thinking of seeing how many episodes there are, I'm not like 100% if I've seen like every single one
Well,
at
that's
this
what I
point.
was talking to
So
you about. So if we, oh, so hypothetical situation, depending on where we go with the show, if we release one episode per episode from this day, whenever this comes out, from this day weekly, we will still be in season one come this time next year because this is the first, like we're about to talk on Leather Wings. This is the first of 65 episodes for the first season alone. Like that's unheard of.
and that's like of like what like 80 odd episodes too.
I know.
But yeah, so yeah, and then I said, yeah, like for me, show came out when I was like 11 or 12, like probably going into grade 8, I think is around the time. So and then just remember like seeing the initially aired during the week, but I remember it more on the Saturday in the Saturday block of superhero shows with the Spider-Man animated series, The Tick, and like X-Men. Such a good block of shows on.
Good old Fox 29.
Yeah, so with that, let's get into the first episode, and just clarify at the top, we are going with production order of the show instead of the airing order because Fox is, they are famously bad for not airing stuff in order sometimes when shows are when they start shows. Because I think I mentioned you before, like other than the show, the other famous one was Firefly, where they skipped like the awesome pilot and aired like the second episode first, and everyone was like, "What the fuck is going on?" Which is the correct response,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, we are going with the production order, which starts with On Leather Wings,
Hmm.
which is somewhat weird to start with this one because it's not like you'd think if they start with like the Joker or Two-Face or with their like like more well-known character because I think for Batman fans they probably would know him as like what do you say like a C or D-list character almost.
Yeah, like it's more akin to something like you would see in, as you mentioned, like the Spider-Man animated series, where I mean, it's not really a lab accident, so to speak, that turns him into the character. We'll get to those details, like as we talk about the episode, but it's this very sci-fi, a little bit supernatural kind of vibe that you're not used to in a show like this, where usually it's characters that are more kind of like pulpy, have a bit of a gimmick to them. As you said, like you got your Joker, you got your standard, Batman rogues gallery. Whereas here, I think this is the first time that Man Bat was ever introduced into a television format.
This is first like on screen appearance, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
because
boy, did they do him justice.
yeah, because yeah, it's first came out in Detective Comics 400, so it was like in June 1970 it came out. So it was definitely after the Adam West show, which I could kind of see them being like having a weird thing and just like, but him just being like a guy like dressed up as like reverse Batman basically, and just calling himself Man
Yeah.
Bat. So and then that was like the last Batman show before this one, right? I think. So yeah, so you definitely wouldn't have been on anything else, but they definitely like
Yeah.
yeah, like they started off with a lesser known character. It was a good start.
It was a very good start.
Yeah, so yeah, so the air date for this was aired September 6th, 1992.
Mhm.
So that was math is what what is this 23 it's too early for me to do math. What year is this
Over 30
23?
years ago, I can tell
Yeah,
you that much.
30, yeah, 31 years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, the air date is September 6th, 1992, written by Mitch Bryan and directed by Kevin Altieri. And I like the fact that it's also who did the voice for this. It was the guy who was the Beastmaster, Mark Singer.
Is that who
That's
Mark Singer is?
yeah,
OG Beastmaster? That's awesome.
yeah. Think when I think of Beastmaster, I always think of the Robot Chicken sketch where like
Oh, yeah.
where there was like a Beastmaster musical and they had Gene Simmons like singing like the lead and he's like I'm the Beastmaster. So I always freaking have that in my head and then I think of the first Halloween episode of Community where Pierce came out as the Beastmaster.
Oh my gosh, he
And,
did.
and then
Oh my god.
as soon as I saw that, I burst out laughing because like I had seen the Beastmaster movies, so I just burst out laughing. And then like so often I watch that, so there's somebody and they don't know who Beastmaster is, and they're like, "What the fuck's going on?"
Well, I know that his that March is played by, because I got the guest cast here. I know his, how do you pronounce, Rene Auberjonois or something like something. It's French, but he's Odo from Star Trek, and I'm
Oh
like,
yeah,
okay, So this guy is having a contest with Odo, this character, Dr. March, for like grumpiest man alive. Because I just remember like Odo is like just miserable every episode. I didn't watch a lot of Deep Space Nine. Probably gonna get like nailed to the wall by listeners if I'm wrong about that even. But just I just remember like, why does this character have any following? Like he's just like a miserable old man who's just like, get off my lawn, hippies.
Sorry, I watched DS9 for the first time like 4 or 5 years ago, and yeah, and he's a crusty old guy, but it's because he's like a shapeshifter and he doesn't not a solid in the world of the solids and doesn't like that because he's a shapeshifter and
So
stuff.
his
So he's
moods are liquid.
yeah,
So he's just a metaphor for bipolar.
he's a crusty shapeshifter basically.
Yeah. Apologies to our bipolar listeners. Well, I got the title card lined up here if you want, because that's the other thing that's really cool to note about this show. It's got this very, if you remember, like back, do you remember when they remade King Kong, the Peter Jackson version, and they had
Yeah,
that opening title screen that will look like something operatic, and that's the one of the tones that they really start out with the gate with the show is this title card of the episode. So you got this silhouette of a bat shadow on a gray backdrop. I don't know who it is that is the artist behind these title cards. Maybe it's different artists depending on who the studio is, because I know there's rotating studios as they're rolling through the show. But I'm very impressed with their work. It definitely sets the mood right into the beginning of the episode and lets you kind of get a little bit of a sampling before kind of going into it.
speaking of the title stuff, I like how like intro to the show it has like the Warner Brothers symbol, then it kind of fades into the to the blimp, like and then the
Mhm.
lights come off, and then it shines down, and then the music starts up.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to those blimps. Don't you worry.
Those blimps are so impractical.
Oh yeah. In 3 episodes, without spoiling too much, one of those blimps, shocker of shockers, crashes into something. And I'm just like, the property damage alone from this, like the taxpayers of Gotham must be like livid when they look at, like their utility bills or something like that. And they look at like, I'm paying how much to, support your friggin' blimps? And you have how many? Like, why do we
And
have one blimp?
did the Hindenburg not happen in that universe?
I wouldn't be surprised considering it's kind of this noir, Art Deco kind of vibe. So
Well,
one
I
would
guess it.
think,
Yeah, well, I guess it must not have exploded in that universe, or
yeah,
or it must have been proven a success. And like, hey, let's get more of these, and that's really
yeah,
the cops are like, get me 10 of those.
Britain is the future. But
Uh,
yeah, I got a kind of an episode recap that we can kind of go along with as we're talking about the episode. If anybody's curious, I'm taking these from the DCAU wiki episode recaps. If you care to follow along, all seems quiet in Gotham City until a half bat, half human creature ghosts past the Gotham Air One police blimp and breaks into Phoenix Pharmaceuticals, assaults a security guard before stealing assorted chemicals from the laboratories. This is the latest in a series of such break ins at pharmaceutical companies. So, first note I have is oh no, the poor pharmaceutical company. However, will they get by?
Speaking of the blimps, yeah, like it starts off with like the two cops on the blimp, and then they see on the radar blip goes on. But I was like, do you think the radar is that strong that it would pick up something that small for that, or do you think
Think about that. Because,
because
okay, so his wings,
you think it's be more set up for like small planes and stuff or whatever, that right? Or because assuming that's how radar works, they kind of tune it for what they're going for, or is it just kind of anything sort of thing?
yeah, like theoretically, if Manbat is got like the wingspan of like your average hang glider, I, that's kind of interesting. I don't know. Maybe it was we could always chalk that up to some sonar thing. Like it's like bouncing the sonar off of the radar, and that's what catches it. But that's a
Yeah,
good thing. I never thought of that. Yeah, because of the
yeah,
size of it. Otherwise, they just be like, look, a blip, and it's just Batman, like zipping by on his,
yeah,
like
yeah, because it only shows up for a second, so I guess it must
yeah.
have was had its wings right out or something like that. And
Yeah.
then how I like to like the one cop that says like, "Hey, what was that? Did you see that?" Is also what's his face? Kevin Conroy, who voices
Yeah.
Batman.
And you
Just
can
kind of
just hear it too. Like
yeah.
this is the start of like it's kind of getting the range of like Conroy's like vocal kind of performance. But if you listen closely, you can tell. But one thing I was also going to note is his co-pilot. There is no way that that guy did not see a giant man bat flying past the cockpit because, as we all know, like pilots are supposed to have good vision. Otherwise, it kind of defeats the purpose of piloting. So if he did
And
not see that guy going past him, that's worrying considering
or
he's flying a hydrogen blimp.
or at least be paying attention. Should
Yeah.
have
So I think Conroy's pilot needs to be talking to his, recruiting department and saying, we need to get this guy replaced.
I
I
want
think Joe
to
needs to put in for early retirement.
I want a different co-pilot.
But yeah, one thing that's I really appreciate about the opening of the show is you don't go for the standard Bruce's parents shot in the alley. The showrunners go have more confidence in their audience, which is something that, a lot of the times these producers are like, well, we gotta, make sure that kids understand the stuff as it's coming at them. But like, no, it's Batman. Like, how many times, like, the joke of like how many times is like, Thomas Wayne or Uncle Ben or the planet Krypton gonna die? Because it's just like they over and over again. It's like we know all this. Like we're going off the assumption that they know, and we're just gonna roll with it. And you see little bits of sprinkles as the show goes on that oh,
Do they
that's
ever do they ever actually end up showing them get shot in the show?
um
Now that I'm thinking
there's a
about it,
couple episodes where like they make reference to it. Like there's a really, really, really good episode that's coming up where there's a hallucination and you see I won't spoil it, but it's very artistically well done considering all the censors because you can't just show on a cartoon, especially a Saturday morning cartoon, two people getting shot in an alley. Like
yeah,
I my I think I told you the story. My nephew, he's like 6 years old, and he was FaceTiming me a couple months ago, and he's starting to get into Batman. And he asked me, "How did Batman become Batman?" Uncle Braydon, and I was like, how do I explain to my 6 year old nephew that Bruce Wayne walked into an alley with his parents and didn't come out the other side with them? And so it's they're walking this very, very tight rope of how much do we show, how much do we allude to, and how much do we just not talk about?
be like this kid and just shoot his parents. Now go train in Europe and Asia, then come back in 15 years, and then that's how Batman became Batman.
I was like looking at my sister and just like pleading with my eyes, like, please help me. But yeah,
So they deal with the stuff from the pharmaceutical company. Oh darn. And then it doesn't cut to Harvey Bullock and
yep. So
yeah.
we got the report from the blimp and the wounded security guard. Oh, no, I skipped ahead.
Yeah, so that it cuts to the reporter. Then it's like Harvey Bullock and James Gordon talking, being like Bullock looking for the task
Yeah,
force.
I think I found where I left off. So the report from the blimp and the wounded security guard leads Detective Harvey Bullock, after an unauthorized interview with Gotham Glazer, to petition Mayor Hamilton Hill for a special task force designed to eliminate the strange Batman that has appeared around the city. All right, to be fair, your first assumption as a public citizen, if people are being attacked in Gotham City, is going to be that it's the Batman if they describe a bat shaped man. So, especially if they are of at least the urban legend of Batman exists. And Commissioner Gordon objects, stating that the police are already on the case, but the mayor grants the request and DA Harvey Dent promises Bullock immunity. So you get introduced to the character of James Gordon, who is this police, like head of the police, who we don't know quite yet why he approves of Batman. But again, because it's part of the comic book mythos. We're just kind of rolling with it. But you're really introduced more so to Bullock, who's this smug and trigger happy detective, happy to, publicly slander Batman, but he knows that Gordon is a Batman stan, so he's kind of caught between, a rock and a hard place and kind of working with what he has. But how did he not expect Gordon to be pissed about this? Because if you know this is what your boss likes, and you're going out in public, it's not like you're just talking at the water cooler. Like, I really wish somebody would talk about would take Batman down, and you're talking to the press. Like, does Gotham PD not have like good PR? Maybe that's the reason Batman exists, actually.
And I think we all know that cops don't have the best PR. So
Yeah, especially this day and age.
yeah, probably the Gotham police would probably wouldn't have the best PR going off. Yeah, so that wouldn't surprise me that someone like Bullock going right around him just be like fuck Batman kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
But but
I
uh,
think
but,
I
but
described him to you as like he's pretty much J. Jonah Jameson, but with a gun and a badge.
but of
We
course,
also
so
get introduced.
Gordon does have a point though. She's just kind of they're tipping their hand that they're onto the Batman or investigating him at least too. So, which if Batman was Batman, he probably already knew that, but
Yeah,
they
true.
probably don't know that the scope of him just quite yet because yeah. Which another thing with I like with the show is that they didn't like start off like him starting becoming Batman. He was already Batman, and he was
Hmm.
and like the city already knows there's a Batman. And it's not him being like, "Hey, my parents are killed. I need to be a symbol for the city." Then becoming Batman, it's already like feet on the ground.
Exactly. Yeah, it's
So,
rolling with the intelligence of the audience.
so I guess it's probably like year two Batman probably.
I would say, yeah, easily year two.
Yeah, because if it was any later, you would think they'd already be investigating Batman or well into it or already gotten distracted by it
Hmm.
already or just kind of accepted that Batman was there.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
yeah. Then Bullock asking for the task force, so it always makes me think of Jake from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, not looking for the task force.
Oh my gosh.
Looking for hard targets.
I'm
He has
trying
no
to
idea.
picture I'm trying to picture now Bullock in like a Brooklyn Nine
Yeah,
scenario,
or as Bullock as Jake, or Jake as Bullock.
except it's like, I mean, rest in peace, Andre Bauer.
Oh yeah,
But
that was.
I'm just picturing like him just being this such by the book boss and having Bullock just like, come on, Commish, I want to go out and shoot something. And we get to introduce Harvey Dent over here. So you got your hotshot DA who looks barely interested in the conversation that they're having. If anything, he looks like he's thinking about what brand of liquor he's going to have with lunch that day. But he's just
And
like, yeah, yeah, I'll give you immunity, blah blah blah. Just like keep my campaign looking clean as getting closer to election year.
I know I just figured watch this episode twice, and I barely remember him being in this episode. Like barely shows up.
So
And I
then we
like it.
get to looking into the days following the Phoenix break-in and Batman investigating the robberies. This is where we're introduced to Batman in the Batcave itself and meeting Alfred. So this is when they had the original voice actor for Alfred. I think it's like Clive Revell or someone. You've got a different Alfred voice than you're used to moving on to the series. This one is very droll. I grew up on a lot of British comedies, so I was originally thinking like a kind of like Blackadder kind of style character. I'm like, very good, sir. Just very like kind of dry, like like looking at if Batman's bringing stuff home after the end of a long day. It's like, and how many bullet holes in the costume tonight, Master Bruce? Oh, 17. No, that's a new record. Oh, and I suppose it's going to be someone else who's going to be stitching the costume up. Oh, that's right. I'm the only one who works here. That's right. Oh, good. And I've mentioned to you, but we'll see how long we can roll this bit. I have a theory on Alfred. I firmly believe Alfred is like this resigned alcoholic, like to all of Bruce Wayne's crap. Like, have you seen those like Michael Caine Alfred memes of like, like I'm getting tired of your shit. Like this man, nothing phases him. Like you could have like freaking dark side break into this cave, like, and Alfred would not be surprised in the slightest. He'd be like, oh, is it Friday then already? Like this thing shocks this man. So like you just got to picture like this old age James Bond looking guy, like Sean Connery's character in like The Rock, and just in his twilight years, looking after like Bruce Wayne, like he's okay to do it. He's resigned to do it. But you know that scene of like Batman v Superman where Alfred's talking about, Bruce Wayne drinking all the wine in the cellar and not leaving any for future generations. And it's like, Alfred, let's be honest here. You definitely intaked like 50% of that wine collection. You can't be Batman's like butler, mechanic, armorer, the maintainer of his, and just like all the emotional trauma dumping of on this poor man. Like this man has like this man is easily like there is so many stories this man could be like venting to a therapist, just all the crap he's endured at like Batman's hand. I mean, hey,
And then
he's
nobody,
got the
then
patience of a saint, but that he has got like he would be a therapist like retirement plan.
but yeah, then also too, you can blame it on the booze if you ever just started saying like, "Hey, Bruce Wayne's Batman," be like, "Hey, don't believe the drunk. What the hell does he know?"
Yep. All right, go back to your broom closet, Alfred. Medical stuff. And also the fact that Bruce is just casually wearing his Batman costume in the Batcave,
Well,
which,
yeah,
when you think of it, is very much in character
oh yeah,
because,
because he does view himself as Batman instead of Bruce Wayne being Batman sort of thing, which does come up in Batman Beyond later on,
oh, yeah.
if we end up getting to that. So and too, like I like this scene because somebody calls him or they or yeah or somebody calls him where it's like the observatory or whatever it calls him. He has to be pretend to be Bruce Wayne, so he's actually using his Bruce Wayne voice as in the
Oh,
costume.
yeah. He flips that
Yeah,
voice like a light switch,
yeah,
man. It's
yeah,
so like masterfully done.
yeah. Because I think I saw somewhere that I think he was like one of the first people to use like two distinct voices for his Batman and Bruce Wayne.
Hmm.
So yeah, so and which he kind of shows there because I don't think he's showed up in this episode as Bruce Wayne yet. He's just been Batman. So I think that
I
was his
think when he
back.
goes to the observatory,
But is that before or after this?
that's after this.
Oh yeah. So I think that
Yeah.
it's up to this point. We've only seen him as Batman, so then he just flips on his Bruce Wayne voice, which I
And it's
like.
very cleverly done for the, kids watching because I know that apparently Bruce Timm was very particularly protective over having Batman unmasked, like having basically Bruce Wayne's face over the Batman body. I guess that's a stylistic choice, or maybe he wanted to really give you this impression of how much different Batman was from Bruce Wayne, and almost like they're two different characters. But you have this establishment when they have that conversation where you can tell for the kids like, oh, it's a performance, like this is the same character, and it's also letting you roll with the story without having like an establishing shot of him, taking off the mask and stuff like that, like you would in any other show. So again, it's treating the audience with intelligence and just saying like, no, like we know that you are kids, but like we also know that kids can pick up on things a lot more than we think they can. So it's very cleverly done.
Yeah, that's the because because you want there was the observatory calling because he wants to go and test the hairs and the sounds that he found when he was at the pharmaceutical company. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's what the I think that's what the deal is.
Yeah, so he takes the samples to the bat exhibit,
Yeah,
and there he meets doctors Kirk Langstrom and Francine Langstrom and her father, Dr. March.
yeah.
So Dr. March, pretty obsessed with bats, which he insists are the only creatures able to survive the next evolutionary cataclysm, which while humans aren't. And
Eh,
I made this note today. Technically, the next human cataclysm was COVID-19. So he was technically right. We did give, like a very fact that a bat was able to start this thing. I mean, theoretically, we're still putting the pieces together of all that, but yeah, I was just like, oh, there's some life imitating art for you. Now, this is what I found funny. Okay, so Bruce asks the zoologist to analyze the evidence of the crime scene, passing it off as a pest problem at Wayne Manor. All right, so
Yeah.
imagine this scenario. He hands this soundbite of the bat to the zoologist guys. What if this accidentally led to them going to Bruce Wayne's house to get rid of his bat problem and accidentally finding the bat cave? Like they're just like, we've never heard a bat make this kind of sound before. Like this is like a scientific abnormality that we have to investigate. Like we have to like send trucks of scientists to this place. And Batman's just sitting there like, oh crap, what have I done?
Be like, well, there's your problem. You got all this bad stuff down here.
Yeah.
There's your bad problem.
Are you aware that you've been sitting on a giant bat cave, Master Bruce?
Like,
Or
oh,
Mr. Wayne? Like,
it's
no, no, I had no idea. Well,
bad
Alfred, I guess we're moving
man.
to Fort Lauderdale or something. So yeah, in the Batcave, the Batcave computer has failed to match either the sounds or the hairs of the DNA to a species known to man. And Dr. March calls back and gives a perfectly plausible scientific explanation. The hairs are from a common brown bat, while the sounds are actually a mixture of the sounds of bats and a nest of starlings fighting in the chimney. So, yeah, again, this is that scene where you see the distinctive difference between Batman and Bruce's respective voices. So, lets you kind of hear that there is this bridge between the characters. Because when this show came out, like if I was watching this when the show came out, I was 3. So my mind is not going to go to the guy in the brown Dwight Schrute suit being being Batman. I'm just going to be thinking, like, oh, they have a similar voice. So it's that very much like intelligent bridging of the two characters. The other thing is when the explanation of the sound of the DNA proved false, given the Bat computer has the inability to find a match with either of the species, so Batman concludes that Dr. March is lying and that the zoo staff is somehow involved. So this goes to show you, yeah, Batman will go to experts who have like more knowledge than himself about this stuff, but he'll follow up with it. He's not just going to take your word if it's like, okay, so I needed to talk to an expert in this scenario. Like he's doing his research simultaneously while experts are doing their research.
I did like that, yeah, but also, yeah, it also shows off that he has like the bad computer and it's able to do more than what like regular computers would probably be able to do. He just be able to talk to it and he actually has a early version of like Siri because he just talks to it and he's like, hey, combine these two things. Is
Never
it,
thought of that.
yeah, is it this? And it calculates and it's like, oh nope, it's not this Starling or and bats or whatever. So that's how we figured out they were lying.
2023 Batman has just got Alexa. He doesn't have a back computer. He's just talking into his phone. Alexa, solve this riddle for me.
Alexa, start the back car.
I mean, that's pretty much if Wayne Industries tanks and he loses all his money, he's like, well, at least I've got backup plans.
Alexa, is it raining out?
Alexa, do I need a coat? So later that night, Batman enters the zoo laboratory and finds Dr. Kirk Langstrom working alone. Working from his father in law's theories, Kirk has created a formula that temporarily transforms him into a man bat creature. So Kirk has become addicted to the formula to the point where he thinks of the man bat as its own independent being.
But
taking the necessary steps to continue its existence, such as stealing the chemicals necessary to keep the formula. Go ahead.
did he actually ever say why he wanted to be Man Bat? Because it was Dr. Marsh saying that was like the bats are
Yeah.
survivors and they're doing like so it's not like as we brought up Spider-Man before with Kirk Connors where he accidentally turns himself into the lizard where he's trying to regrow his arm back using lizard DNA. So he actually
Mhm.
does it that way. And so, but with this, he's not like, hey, I want to fly like Morbin style, and then
Yeah.
accidentally turn like then accidentally turn myself into a fucking man bat. He's just like, I'm turning myself into a man bat because I can.
Well, that's what I wrote. I'm like, okay,
Like,
so when he
his motivations to become man bat aren't there at all.
it's just YOLO. It's
Yeah,
like,
he's like I'm doing it. I don't understand why he wanted this was a thing.
well, yeah, like when you have that moment between him and Batman where his crime has been exposed and he's justifying his addiction to the serum. He's
Because
acting like he's found the cure for cancer or
yeah,
something. And
he's
like,
like
yeah, I'm a genius. What do you want, an apology? Like,
he's
dude, do you really think you're getting a Nobel Prize for turning yourself into a bat?
and he kind of gets over there because it gets to the point where he says like that man bat was able to figure out the chemicals to bring himself out. So
I
that
forgot he
cover,
said that. Oh my God.
but that kind of so that doesn't really cover the factors like why he did it to begin with.
I
Like
know. Yeah.
that's why it's continuing to go. And yes, maybe, but why it
I feel like
started initially.
I feel like Batman should be going to him. You're really kind of bearing the lead here. And also, here's the other thing. So he says that he wants to become Batman, or he wants to become Man Bat permanently, right? So cut to, I mean, we'll talk about the transformation in a second, but cut to when he becomes fully Man Bat and his wife walks in, he's ashamed. So it's like, so clearly you wanted your marriage to work. So what was your plan here? Did you think your wife was just gonna roll with this? Just like,
Yeah, and
wait, wait, this work? Like,
it wasn't like and because this works so well, I'm going to turn everybody into man bats, starting with my wife. Like
well,
that
yeah, it's
wasn't
not
it.
like he's like, I want more people to be mad. I
Yeah,
just want
yeah,
me. It's
yeah.
like,
So so he's like all ashamed when his wife walks in.
think of all the bed space you're gonna save, honey. I'll just be hanging from the rafters while you're, sleeping in the king size bed. It's like, can we talk about this? Like, maybe we need couples counseling. Maybe that was like his ad. He was just like, the second she mentioned couples counseling, he was just like so determined to go into his work and just
Like, no, I'm
he will
becoming a
do
man bat.
literally anything except talk about his feelings. But yeah, this transformation, dude, how scary is this transformation?
It was pretty good. Yeah, I was watching like as like three or four for the first time for you. It must have been pretty scary if you were watching it
This
then.
was nightmare fuel, dude. Like if you guys have seen the that last Dracula movie that came out, Last Voyage of the Demeter, and you
Uh,
saw like this demonic looking bat, like think of that in a kids show. Like this, kids were easily peeing their pants watching
yeah, no
this.
doubt.
Yeah. And like the transformation like really goes like it makes the climax just jump into it real fast. You're just watching him turn into this like monster maniacally laughing, and you get Man Bat. You finally see Man Bat in all of his glory. So he's got these like membraned wings and just these like brown fur, these like I guess like the lower jaw like fangs coming up, and wearing I'm assuming blue scrub pants. I thought they were pajama pants at first. I'm like, is this dude just like wearing pajamas while he's mad?
He gets
But yeah,
just gets that different pants all of the Hulk.
yeah. It's like Hulk. It's like, why do you have so many purple pants? And every single time he turns into Man Bat, he's wearing the blue. So when the first Man Bat, when Man Bat first recoils at the sight of his wife, who comes to the lab, he leaves in shame. In the fight, Man-Bat drags Batman through the sky across half of Gotham. So you get this shot of Batman like on top of Man-Bat, just wailing on him, like just like I'm talking like dirty, like Muhammad Ali, like just wailing on his freaking skull, like, and I'm just like, and you hear it like these meaty like punch landing on it. It was friggin' awesome, and just I'm just like, oh my gosh, like you do remember there's a human being under there, like this isn't just some animal. In fact, actually, that might be more concerning.
Yeah, because I think I after this fight, yeah, Kurt Langstrom definitely has a concussion because like at the end of this fight, he just flies him into a fucking like side of a building or something like that and knocks him out. So between all those punches and that, Kurt definitely has a fucking like massive concussion
Oh
when
yeah, yeah.
when he transforms back into the person.
This man needs a hospital, and Batman's just like, nope, to the Batcave. But yeah, you see Gordon and Bullock see that Batman and Man-Bat are, fighting each other. So obviously, Batman can't be the culprit that they're talking about. Um, so one thing, one thing I want to mention is the same pilot and co-pilot from the opening scene of the show. You have this scene of like Batman grappling around Man-Bat and like by the ankle, getting hauled around like he's, like Ben Franklin's like kite holding the key, getting struck by lightning. But then you get this hilarious image of Batman smashing his face against the windshield, like, and you get just this poor, terrified co-pilot looking at Batman's face. Like, imagine this is how Batman died. Like, I want to roll with this idea as we're like watching the show. Like, you got to remember, Batman is human. Like, yeah, he's trained in monasteries and like done ninjutsu and like it's become like in peak human condition. But a face through a windshield is a face through a windshield. And let I remind you, he is not wearing body armor. He
Yeah,
is
this is yeah
wearing skin
yeah
tight leotard.
yeah. This is like not this is yeah not armored Batman. Yeah, not body
No, so
armor.
it's like he is going with minimal protection. If this man gets shot, I have a better chance of surviving wearing a sweater and jeans than Batman does in his costume. So I have this as we're watching the show moving forward, I'm gonna have this counter thing of just embarrassing ways for Batman to die. Because when you get this
Dumb
character that's
ways to
constantly
die. Said dumb ways to die.
exactly, yeah, because you got this character who's completely human, and like obviously there's no tension if you're not putting him in life or death situations. But now it's like, okay, so like let's see what happened if this had been his end. Like, would he be remembered as like this awesome crime fighter, or would be just like this is not the way I would want to go out? So you get Batman finally subduing Man-Bat and taking him to the Batcave, where he analyzes the chemical makeup of the formula to reverse the transformation and delivers an unconscious but fully restored Kirk to his grateful wife. So first thing I want to note is when he brings Man-Bat back to the Batcave, once again, Alfred not phased whatsoever. Like, if you bring home someone unconscious and say to your, like roommate or somebody like, I just got to take care of this guy, like, help him get back on his feet, you're gonna have questions. You're gonna be like, if you know what this person does for a living, if you know that they're like a vigilante, kind of figure. Versus, I just brought in the greatest scientific discovery known to man, a human bat hybrid, and Alfred's just like another day at the office.
Yeah, some sort of man bat.
Yeah, like there's no doubt in my mind, this guy is on like just like the finest booze money can buy, if not like just opium. Like,
Yeah.
but of
No,
course, yeah, they have to wrap the episode up, so no one's really thinking about how complicated the science of reverse engineering this bat formula would be.
yeah. Again,
But yeah, just
again goes to show how good his bat computer is. He's just be able to be like, hey, analyze all this stuff, and him and be able to be like, boom, we know what to do to reverse this to get the chemical out of the system because that's what happens when he says to his wife after he drops him off, he's like, "Yeah, the toxins out of the system, so he won't turn back."
Mhm.
Which still leads me back to the question before. It's like, why did he want to do it to begin with?
It comes back to that old Jurassic Park joke of like you were so obsessed with the idea that you could that you didn't ask yourself if you should.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, but I want to clone dinosaurs, but I want to be a man bat.
I
Like,
want to avoid I want to avoid the long lines at the airport and the TSA. Just want to fly down to Cancun by myself.
maybe maybe this is a message that our zoos are overfunded. That if anything, we need to underfund our public zoo. If this is the thing that they can do with their spare time.
Or yeah, or
Yeah,
they can just get rid of all the actual animals and just employ people to become the animals for bits. They're not abusing the animals instead.
that's true.
Do that.
Yeah. Hey, the things people will pay for these days. But yeah, that's more or less the episode. So I got some production notes. Um, Originally, Man-Bat was going to be killing people instead of just stealing things from these pharmaceutical companies, which I feel like they were already pushing the envelope about what they could show on a cartoon.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
think that was a wise choice.
yeah. So yeah, so I imagine that's probably more in line to his the comic character. I imagine is the killings than or
And
especially like
also, like, how do you do that without like leaving kids wondering like what is going to happen? Like, obviously, you can't show them, like having their like blood drawn or anything like that. But like even just like taking them off frame and the person disappearing, like kids are gonna have questions.
yeah.
And the episode was the first to feature Batman bleeding. So we'll be talking about this as we talk more about the show. The censors played a big role in this show and had to really put the creators into a corner about like what they're able to get away with. So Bruce Timm stated on the DVD commentary for this episode that he and Paul Dini they fought with the censors to allow this shot, which was deemed inappropriate for younger viewers. Alan Burnett stated the network started to pull back on the amount of blood, scratches, and abrasions that we could have. The first episode almost used up our whole quota. First of 65 episodes, and they were almost at the limit.
It's
Think about
just the
that.
limit.
And although this was the first episode made, the first actual episode of the series to be airing was The Cat in the Claw Part 1, likely due to the success of Batman Returns, which came out in 1992, which was the same
Yes.
time of this episode
Yeah.
airing.
So that the this episode aired in September, so I imagine it was probably a summer movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I
Strike
remember
while the iron's hot.
oh yeah, I remember the hype around the actually both movies, especially Returns when they came out. Because I think I
Yeah,
remember because I remember mentioning you before, yeah, I remember kind of that coming out in Batman '89 coming out in the summer, and then the turnaround for the home video was at that point was really slow, and getting the VHS for Christmas that year and the friggin' hype around the home video of Batman '89 hitting the market was fucking huge. And
yeah. For all you listeners who like are so used to streaming and like DVDs and stuff like that, some of you might even know like DVDs. You'll never know the waiting period that was waiting for like a videotape at like Blockbuster or like Video 99.
yeah,
So yeah, don't talk to us about being impatient.
because before that it was like almost a year before like shit hit home video and stuff. Because yeah, this is like probably near the beginning of the home video market and stuff. And it was like super expensive too. I remember like getting it as a gift for Christmas from like I think it was most likely my one aunt and uncle that like to spend a lot of money over Christmas, and my parents being like all up in arms, being like, "This is like almost like 50 like a $50 fucking tape."
$50.
Yeah. So or really close or up there. It was yeah, show was really expensive back then. Because like I said, it
Oh
was just
yeah, dude.
this is like the beginnings of the home video market. So it was nuts.
True.
But yeah, like yeah, and then yeah, and then with 92 coming out, yeah, like that with all the McDonald's tie-in stuff with that. So and that's probably yeah, probably why the Cat and the Claw aired because remember Catwoman was huge when that movie came out,
Got to get
which
that merchandise out the door.
yeah, yep, yep.
So we got
Uh,
ratings and final thoughts. You and I were talking about like how to kind of have it as like a rating system, and I think we settled on capes. So,
or actually, or for this episode, we can do it out of five five man bats.
ooh, I like that. So,
Yes.
what's your rating?
I definitely it's a good first episode, and I like the fact that it was not like like their go-to characters like the Two-Face or Joker or something like that. So I definitely I
Mhm.
think I'll give it 4 out of 5 man bats. I think
That's actually what I gave the same
it's
is
it's a
4 out of 5.
solid first episode.
Yeah, the
Yeah, it's,
animation's strong, characters are well rounded, and the story's got a good mystery to it. Kevin
it's,
Conroy's Batman is good. It does need a little bit of refining, but again, it's the beginning of the series, so it's like,
so it'll take a little while to everyone to
yeah,
get into it.
it's like asking Gretzky to be able to shoot like 100 shots in a row at when he's like, just starting to lace up his skates. Um, the other only reason I have deducted from a 5 was because as much as I'm as impressed as like the villain and like like the visuals of the man bat stuff, like it's pretty intense. So I could definitely see, like, I'm thinking of like the parents and like kids and stuff like that. I could definitely see like maybe this is a little too intense for my kid. Like, come back in like a year or two. Yeah, no, great episode. I think yeah, it definitely sets the tone of the show very well. And yeah, it only goes up from here. Like it's definitely a roller coaster of a show. And yeah, it definitely broke a lot of barriers in terms of what cartoons were allowed to do.
Alrighty, folks. I think that that is the episode for this week. Thank you, Rory, for listening to us to Yamarong for however long this was. You can follow along with us on Twitter or X, I guess, if anyone's still on that, at Beyond Podcast, or on Instagram at Beyond the Batcast, or and then you can follow get the podcast on wherever you can get your podcast at. And for next week we'll be doing episode 2, which is I think the Joker. What was it? The Joker episode, Christmas with the Joker.
Mm.
So
Ironically, Christmas just happened for us. So
so yeah, so we should have gotten this going a little sooner. So
it's the millennial.
yeah. So can we find you on the internet at all, Braden?
If you want, you can find me at Braydon Instagram. One second here. Should have come up with this.
I sure warned you about this beforehand too.
Yeah. You set me up.
Yeah.
You can find me on Instagram, Braydon 1325. And yeah, please keep posted for anything that we have for the show because yeah, we're excited to talk more about it and all the fun Batman related material that's coming with it.
All right. And you can find me at Stump Chumpkin on Instagram. And I have another podcast which I haven't done produce an episode in like about a year because of my living situation. And I signed into it. It's called the Multiverse of Marvel, which I'm going to start posting episodes with that again soon. So just keep an eye on that. And I am also on a handful of episodes of a podcast based out of Toronto called Off My Shelf, where the host Tracy James goes through her DVD collection and talks about the talks about that 2 movies per episode, and I will be on an episode in March talking about Run Lola Run and the Rundown. So keep an eye out. Keep an eye out for that when that drops. It should be coming out at the end of March. And yeah, thanks everyone for listening. Kapow.
Yeah, hopefully Yeah. Looking forward to hearing back from you guys. And yeah, thank you for joining us on this Batman recap.